Random forest with Bootstrap equals false in Scikit-Learn Python. What does random forest classifier do if we choose Bootstrap equals false? According to the definition in this link. This URL. Bootstrap, Boolean, optional, default equals true, whether Bootstrap samples are used when building trees. Asking this because I want to use a random forest approach to a time series, so train with a rolling window of size, tn, and predict date, t plus k, and wanted to know if this is what would happen if we choose true or false. 1. If Bootstrap equals true, so when training samples can be of any day and of any number of features. So for example can have samples from day t15, day t19, and day t35, each one with randomly chosen features, and then predict the output of date t plus 1. 2. If Bootstrap equals false, it's going to use all the samples and all the features from date tn to t to train, so it's actually going to respect the date's order, meaning it's going to use t35, t34, t33, etc. until t1. And then we'll predict output of date t plus 1. If this is how Bootstrap works, I would be inclined to use Bootstrap equals false, as if not it would be a bit strange, think of financial series, to just ignore the consecutive days returns and jump from day t39 to t19, and then to day t15 to predict day t plus 1. We would be missing all the info between those days. So is this how Bootstrap works?
It seems like you're conflating the bootstrap of your observations with the sampling of your features. An introduction to statistical learning provides a really good introduction to random forests. The benefit of random forests comes from its creating a large variety of trees by sampling both observations and features. Bootstrap equals false is telling it to sample observations with or without replacement. It should still sample when it's false, just without replacement. You tell it what share of features you want to sample by setting max_features, whether to a share of the features or just an integer number, and this is something that you would typically tune to find the best parameter for. It will be fine that you're not going to have every day when you're building each tree. That's where the value of RF comes from. Each individual tree will be a pretty bad predictor, but when you average together the predictions from hundreds or thousands of trees, you'll probably end up with a good model.
I don't have the reputation to comment, so I will just post my opinion here. The Scikit-Learn documentation says the subsample size is always the same as the original input sample size, but the samples are drawn with replacement if Bootstrap equals true, default. So if Bootstrap equals false, I think every subsample is just as same as the original input sample.
According to this definition, 1. A random forest is a meta-estimator that fits a number of decision tree classifiers on various subsamples of the dataset and uses averaging to improve the predictive accuracy and control over fitting. The subsample size is always the same as the original input sample size, but the samples are drawn with replacement if Bootstrap equals true, default. Note, subsample size is always the same, but the samples are drawn with replacement if Bootstrap equals true, default. So, Bootstrap equals true, default samples are drawn with replacement. Bootstrap equals false, samples are drawn without replacement. 2. In sampling without replacement, each sample unit of the population has only one chance to be selected in the sample. For example, if one draws a simple random sample such that no unit occurs more than one time in the sample is drawn without replacement. Visually you could imagine that from a bag of balls, samples, you pick M. That constitutes your subset number 1, with M balls. Now, if you throw the balls inside the bag before you pick up another M for your subset 2, then you do draw with replacement, Bootstrap equals true. But, if you put the subset 1 aside and pick up another M balls from the bag for your subset 2, then none of the balls in subset 1 can be in subset 2, or any other subset, because you draw without replacement, Bootstrap equals false. 1. This URL. 2. This URL.
If you want to support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing.